are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I'm your host with sometimes the most, Javier Reyes. On today's episode, Fernando Tatis Jr., the prodigal son. He's all the way back. Stammen might have made another little bit of an oopsie in last night's game, and a question regarding Sung Mun Song and Jake Cronenworth. But not before we take a second, before we get into the fun stuff with Mr. Fernando Tatis Jr., we recognize Javier Reyes quietly, maybe, sort of, having his best start as a Padre in last night's game. And again, he has not been awful. He has not been awful for the Padres. It has certainly been better than a lot of the irrelevant just reclamation projects that the Padres have been trotting out for much of this year. But last night he goes 6 innings, giving up 1 earned run on 3 hits, 3 walks, and 4 Ks. He looked okay. This is a not great Mets team. It is a Mets team that has been hitting a lot better lately. So I do want to give a little bit of credit in that regard. There was also a fielding error in this one by Xander Bogaerts, but I do want to give a shout out to our guy, Javier Reyes here, because look, it's Francisco Lindor has been doing a lot better. He's probably going to finish the season being an above average overall bat, maybe not in the counting stats regards, but you've got him. Bo Bichette has been, I think he's hitting like 290 with runners in scoring position. He's been a little bit better. Luis Robert just came back from them. He hits a home run in this game, the only run that Javier Reyes gives up. Outside that, yeah, Francisco Alvarez is all right. You know what I mean? Like they've been doing a little bit better. They're still a bad team, but they aren't an offense that has been runaway atrocious as of late. So it is nice to see Javier Reyes not contribute to their offense getting a little bit better in this one. He generated 10 whiffs on his pitches, which was nice. 2 on his slider, 2 on his fastball, 3 on his changeup, and 3 on his knuckle curve, which was really good. But I will say, while he did have a nice performance, it is worth mentioning he did give up a lot of hard hit contact. 9 hits were for hard contact, with 3 coming off his changeup. Thankfully, though, it wasn't from his top 2 pitches. Those were relatively okay. His velo was fine. All of that was okay. I think that what I saw, though, was this is why Javier Reyes was not being mentioned a lot, I think, at the trade deadline discourse, because usually for trade deadline discourse, you're going to get the big, sexy names that are doing great right now that are being mentioned, like a Tarek Skubal, like a I think Hunter Green was mentioned at one point, even though that was kind of ridiculous of the Reds because he's young. But him, Sandy Alcantara, right? Like he's won a Cy Young before. Casey Mize, because he had been quietly before the trade, before he had left, been a little bit better than Tarek Skubal this year. And then there's Javier Reyes, who I think a lot of people didn't really realize was doing so good. But I think a lot of people thought, all right, he's doing okay this year. But as we talked about in the trade deadline episode, when I recapped it, which everybody could go check it out from a couple weeks ago, really, really fun episode when we talked about both him and Casey Mize, that Javier Reyes' numbers were a little bit down this year. So while he had a nice stretch and is certainly better than what the Padres have, and I think will continue to be a solid starter that maybe you could just go 5 and dive with, it is worth mentioning that he doesn't generate a lot of ground balls. And that's gone down a little bit this year anyway. He's been walking more batters this year, which isn't great. Back to like, he used to be this guy who was really out of control with his pitches sometimes. And his strikeout rate, which is the biggest thing, went down. It's at 20.2% this year, down from 24% last year, 33.3% the year before. And then outside that injured year in 2023, he had a 27%, 32%, right? Like this is the lowest strikeout rate of his entire career. So you can usually offset one or the other with the walk rate or the strikeout rate, but unfortunately it is his, both of them have gotten worse. So I think that some people were expecting him to not be all that amazing. But again, for the Padres and their circumstance, I do think Javier Reyes is better than the chaos pitching, just hoping that a Griffin Canning or a Randy Vasquez or a Herman Marquez or Lucas Giolito can just put it together in some way, or a Matt Waldron, whatever it ends up being, right? I do think that this is an upgrade there. And I do think every now and then it wouldn't shock me if his fastball and slider are on, which is a big if. I think he could have one of those games that's really, really good when needed. I think he's a solid 3 starter. Could be better, but a solid 3 starter. But the big reason, again, that I bring up the hard contact is because he almost makes an enormous error. Bases loaded to the aforementioned Francisco Lindor. A bomb down the right field line, and Fernando Tatis Jr. makes the play defensively, his defensive play of the year, robbing him of the home run. And then, man, was it not the most gangster, aura-filled moment for on the Mets broadcast? Because for those who don't know, I am in the New York metropolitan area, so I actually can't get Don Orsillo on the call for these games. They actually don't leave. The camera angle on the play doesn't leave him for a little bit. So on that broadcast for a second, I thought it was gone because he didn't really react. But then like 2 seconds later, I was like, wait, no, he's holding this for way too long. He held it. Gary Cohen and company, Gary Cohen, who I complained about after Monday's game, that he's just stunned. He said, and he's got it. Like the slow realization that he had it. Tatis is a menace for that. An absolute menace. And it saves Robbie Ray's start. It really does. Because that would have been a grand slam. That would have killed him. It would have killed the Padres last night. And what I love is that Robbie Ray, after that catch, you literally see him looking. And then by the time the camera pans back over, his arms are on his head, like behind his head. And then he's got the glove on top of his head. Like his glove isn't even in his hand anymore. And that was just funny to me, seeing that like juxtaposition of Tatis just staring there and flipping the ball to himself or tossing the ball to his other hand to reveal that he got it. Very like end credits Marvel moment type moment for Fernando Tatis Jr. there. I mean, he's incredible, right? We're going to talk about him a little bit more in the next segment, but he is just absolutely phenomenal, man. I mean, it's truly incredible that this is a guy who started off the year egregiously. Like I had mentioned on many shows how much his start to the season had driven me from that period had driven me to be more upset than I had been with any Padres player in a long time, right? Xander Bogaerts is up there, sure, but I compared it to Hosmer because Hosmer, it was a little bit more. There was something about Tatis who, by the way, the numbers do support this. He was just hitting on first pitches, grounding it, hitting it right into the ground. Just the launch angle was terrible. He didn't have a pulled ball for like the first month of the season. And then he changed. And I'm being serious, by the way. He's actually, in terms of who has the most outs on the first pitch, it is Fernando Tatis Jr. is in second place with 19% of his plate appearances coming to an end on the first pitch, which is insane. And then in first place is Jake McCarthy. Third place is Ezekiel Tovar. And then fourth place is TJ Blumfeld. Really funny because three of them are Rockies. Just to give you an idea of like, that's bad when you're out on the first pitch. But I think a lot of that was because of the beginning of the year. But again, amazing moment for Tatis. So while Robbie Ray did have a good start, if not for an unbelievable catch by Tatis, it is a bad one. Shout out to the bullpen. Gets things done. Bradley Rodriguez only gets brought in for a little bit because he gives up a hit. And then they bring in Adrian Monajon for a bunch. He goes 1 2/3, giving up a run. It was a little bit scary for him. And then Mason Miller shuts things down with 2 strikeouts after giving a little bit of a scare to Bo Bichette. But we got to talk about our guy, Fernando Tatis Jr., and our guy, Craig Stammen, both for very separate reasons. One good, one bad. And we'll start with the bad before we get into the good and talk about just how unbelievable Fernando Tatis Jr. has been this season. And I think it's gotten to the point where we are now entering the view of not just very good player, excellent player. It's starting to look like that Ken Griffey Jr. is that MVP bat, something that is returning for the Padres right now. But first, guys, let me take a second to talk to you about KALSHI. Ladies and gentlemen, make baseball season more this year because with KALSHI, America's #1 prediction market platform, you can trade on every single game. On KALSHI, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you could buy in and out of your position. Download the KALSHI app and use code LOCKEDON to get $10 when you trade. 10 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. KALSHI products are not available in all jurisdictions. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. That's KALSHI, KALSHI. KALSHI. Trade on anything. And just like that, everybody, we are back here at the Locked On Padres podcast, thriving and vibing. Remember to follow me on Blue Sky Javipeno, Javiipeno. Reach out for any questions and comments on there. We will be responding to a question via the Gmail, lockedonpadres@gmail.com. But let's continue, guys. Let's talk about Craig Stammen's little snafu. I want to talk about a little bit real quick. Again, it's easy to blame Craig Stammen for like everything, right? Like, let's just be very, very clear. It is so easy to blame him for everything when it comes to the Padres. That's just fundamentally, that's just where we're at. But I do think that this time there's a little bit of a question. He leaves first of all, he brings Adrian Morejon in early to go a long length. He ends up finishing with 38 pitches. So needless to say, he will not be available in the final game of this series, the rubber match. Thankfully they have a day off, but maybe that's what he was thinking, is we'll have a day off on Thursday. So that's why I'm willing to use him a lot today. And then we've got Wednesday's game, whatever. But to me, I think that there was a moment in this game when Morejon, not the first innings when he was out, right? Like, I get that you want to save Bradley. Bradley's still young. While he has been excellent this year to a point where, like, I don't think this is changing, right? Like, Bradley Rodriguez, just a quick aside, Bradley Rodriguez, we have to get to the point where we just start appreciating him for how good he is and stop assuming that there's a blow up that's going to happen at some point. He's got a 2.55 FIP, right? He's got a great strikeout rate at 26%. He's walking only 7.4% of batters. I know he's young. I know he's only 22, but I'm just kind of like, I get it. Like, in a high leverage playoff situation, maybe we should start talking about that. But at some point, we have to start being like, this guy is the fourth best reliever or the third best reliever, probably in your bullpen. And at times is better than Morejon, which we saw last night. Morejon gets brought in to do a lot of the work here, which again, I get, I understand it. But in that, what's it called? In the bottom of the eighth inning, right? He relieves him, gives up a home run to Luis Robert, right? Okay, not great there. Then strikes out Carson Bench and Frisco Alvarez fouls out. And then it gets really scary, in which Christopher Morello gets a single, Marcus Semien draws a walk, he can't find the strike zone. And then AJ Ewing comes up to the plate, and he still can't find the strike zone, getting to a full count at 3-2. And by the way, I would have brought in Mason Miller potentially right before this, after he walked Marcus Semien. A very bad batter, Marcus Semien, this year. Used to be great, not anymore. I actually don't even know if he's hitting above the Mendoza line at this point. He might not be. That's how atrocious he's been this year. But he walks him. That's the first sign of trouble. And remember, he already pitched the inning before that. So it's feeling a little bit like, hey, Craig, like, maybe you should start taking this guy out. Yeah, he's actually hitting 208, so my bad. I was close, though. He doesn't. Gets to a 3-2 count, and he gets the strikeout, but only scoreboard watchers would notice, and they'll say, well, Javi, he got the job done. It's Morejon. But he's lucky that AJ Ewing literally swings at a pitch that nearly hit him. I'm not kidding. Inside to the lefty, swings out of his seat. That's why Morejon, right after that pitch, did not look happy. And we know that he is a very animated individual when he gets those big Ks. But he knew, I just got so lucky there. I was terrible in that at-bat. So Craig Stammen almost potentially creating some drama there. Thankfully, though, the rest of the Padres and the offense was great in this one, particularly with Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. Firstly, Machado 3 for 4, quietly, 2 singles and a home run and a walk. He looked great. And by the way, his home run, that swing, guys, I'm sorry. That friggin' swing that my guy has. It's so good. It's so damn good. It's just, I'll never get tired of seeing it. It is one of the great treasures of being a Padres fan, is seeing the way that this guy can hit the ball. 101.2 miles per hour off the bat. Home run in 28 out of 30 ballparks. Launch angle, all that stuff was fantastic. Just elite stuff. And then you have Fernando Tatis Jr., who not only made that essentially game-saving catch to rob a grand slam, he hits 2 home runs in this game, looking like the wind, riding like the wind, letting all of the spiritual aura carry him as he hit both. One of them, the hardest hit ball of the night, 113 miles per hour off the bat, 1,000 expected bat average. The launch angle was great, 452 feet to start off the game. And that was a solo shot. And then he hits another one in the 5th inning, 104 off the bat, .780 expected batting average. The bat speed was great too. Guys, he's freaking back, man. He's freaking back. Since hitting his first home run on May 30th, 70 game sample size since then, he's hitting .290 with a .361 on base and a .527 slug. And 15 home runs in total now for him on the season. His weighted on base is .342, which is misleading, in my opinion, because the beginning of the season, all of his expected stats, they were better. Like, they were like, okay, he's going to be better. But now he's pulling the ball. Now he's launching the ball. He is doing stuff that makes me think and convinced that at minimum, the version we got of him in 2024 in the second half may be back. Because remember, 2025 offensively was a little bit disappointing for Tatis. A little bit. He was still a very good player, and I think that his badness, or whatever you want to call it, was a little bit overstated. But compared to what he used to be, he was like just an absolute tank years before that. We thought he was Ken Griffey Jr., and instead, he was just a really good, really, really, really good offensive player. But I'm citing 2024 first before we get too carried away with the 2021 40 home run version of him. Because again, he's not going to hit 40 home runs. But he might actually surpass his home run total from last year, which would be remarkable given that his first home run, again, was back in May. The 2024 version of him, for those who don't remember, in March and April, he had a 117 WRC+, which was like pretty solid, pretty good, right? Not bad, not great, but he was doing a little bit, right? He was drawing walks, getting some big hits, etc. Then in May, he had a 109 WRC+. And then in June, he had a 197 WRC+. And in September, October, a 139. He started going absolutely off towards the end of the regular season, and then famously in the playoffs when he posted the highest OPS in the history of Major League Baseball in the postseason. That's what he had based on his two, granted, small sample size. That's what happens when you go off in your only two playoff series. The end of that, when he's hitting 3 home runs against the Dodgers, against the Braves combined, just being an absolute menace. That version of Tatis might be back here because every home run that he's hit, the launch angle is very high. The hard hit is very high. You cannot fake this stuff. You can maybe fake I don't know. You could maybe pull. There are some batters in baseball that don't hit the ball as hard, don't have as good average exit velocity. You could look at the guy in the Astros who pulls a lot. You could look at even Nolan Arenado at times. You could fake it a little bit, but you cannot fake it to this degree where every single home run is breaking StatCast. You're hitting it 450 feet and you're doing it frequently, right? I already mentioned his numbers over the last 70 games, but if you look at Tatis's numbers over just the last 20 games, right? Like if you just go over the last 20 games, like let's say the beginning of August, right? Or let's actually just go since my birthday, because that's a more fun number. You know what I mean? Let's just do that on July 30th, right? Tatis, he's slugging .621, guys. Like the power stroke is back. He has 7 home runs since July 30th. I just don't think you can fake that. And I think that this is a guy who is not just a hard hit guy who's getting singles and doubles anymore. I think he's starting to become an absolute titan at the plate and it's going to be really huge for the Padres. His bat speed, if you want to get even deeper, has gone up. It was 74.5 miles per hour on average in April. Now he's at 77.5. He's locked in. Whatever he did, changing his batting stance, making changing his leg kick, having a wider spread stance instead of just being right on top of the plate, almost stationary the way he was last year. Or I should say the way he was at the beginning of this year. That has changed things significantly for Tatis. And if you want to give him more shout out to that amazing catch that he made that I'm going to be rewatching all day, frankly, the most home run robberies since 2025. If you guys are curious, because I know you are, right? And home run robberies, it's specifically like you're literally stopping the ball from being hit over the fence, right? Don't get me wrong. There have been like Pico Armstrong has been the best defensive player in baseball, but it's because he also contributes to, singles and doubles and keeping them limited and all that sort of stuff. But in terms of home run robberies, since the start of 2025, the list goes Cedric Mullins with 15, which surprised me. Jackson Merrill with 13. Remember when he was doing that a lot, especially last year? Joe Adell with 12. Jake Mangum with 12. And Fernando Tatis Jr. with 10. So it is surprising that he's 10th. I'm sorry, that he's 5th on the list. Doesn't surprise me if it's Joe Adell because the guy literally had 3 in one game this year. So that might have just like thrown things off a little bit. But the Padres have 2. Manny Machado hit that home run yesterday, and it reminded me of my stance, which is Manny Machado's past his prime. He's not going to carry the team offensively. But what he has shown, just like the rest of his Padres offense, is he's definitely not washed. But in terms of carrying the team, Tatis might be back to that. And we've seen Jackson Merrill be back to that, especially in the second half since the All-Star break, having a 900 plus OPS. I think he has a 930 OPS since the beginning of the second half. So Padres are looking good, man. Padres are looking good. And I could not be more thrilled with Tatis at this point. And folks, I think I may have a jersey coming in. Oh, yeah. I think it's time. I think it's time. For those who know me, I'm not a big jersey guy. I don't like getting jerseys. Why? Because I think that wearing like shirts is easier. You could show off your fandom more frequently. Jerseys, it's like you can't just walk to work with that. You know what I mean? You can't just walk out places with a jersey. It's just different. It's a little bit much sometimes. But I think Tatis might have earned it. I really, really do, folks. But before we keep praising the legend of one Sir Fernando Tatis Jr., guys, let me take a second to talk to you about our friends for this limited ad break. This back to school season, spend less on your kids with Amazon. That's right, folks. It's really great. Because here's the thing. We all know how crazy the back to school shopping experience can be. It starts with a few items on the list, and then suddenly you're shopping for supplies and lunch gear and tech and paper and about 10 other things you didn't see coming. It adds up fast. The supply list, when you look at it and wonder if you're shopping for one child or opening a small office supply store, and you just never realize first grade required this much inventory. Shopping like this can get out of control if you're not careful. The first day outfit is important. You want to make the impression. You want your kid to not feel strange. You want your kids to be excited. You want your kid to be like, I won't be embarrassed. I want to look my best for all my new teachers and all that stuff. The tech, the last minute panics. You don't want the last minute panic. Trust me. I remember what that was like. So remember, with Amazon's low back to school prices, just spend less on your kids, because every dollar you don't spend on them is a dollar you haven't spent on them. Shop back to school at Amazon and spend less on your kids. And just like that, ladies and gentlemen, back here, Locked On Padres, Javier Reyes. Maybe you can follow me on Blue Sky if you wish, and send your questions, lockedonpadres@gmail.com, or leave them in the comments section for Monday's mailbag episode. We got a comment in the Discord, Locked On Everydayer Club. Go check it out, guys. Locked On Everydayer Club /Locked On Padres. You'll find it. My guy, Phoenix Ash, frequent listener of this show. Love you, my man. And he said, look, that game last night, what he felt is that's who we were signing when we gave Tatis that 14 deal. If that is the kind of play we can expect from Nando on a regular basis, his potential, this will be one of the best contracts the Padres have ever signed. And that, I think, is a really good point because, first of all, I just want to give a shout out and bring up that there was a brief period where people were wondering about all these big contracts for the Padres. And don't get me wrong, the Xander Bogaerts one is brutal. Like, that was not changing. That one is brutal. The Manny Machado one is really brutal, but at least he is still a useful player and can still do things. He has, 24 home runs on the year. He's playing good defense, and his overall numbers do not reflect what he has been for a while now. Like, Manny Machado for like 2 months now has been genuinely excellent. For those who don't know, if I have to spell it out for you, I damn well will. What is it called? In June, he had a 110 WRC plus, and in July, he had a 151 WRC plus. Overall, in August, he's got an 85 right now, but in total, he has been a good player, and I think that he can still be that at least to finish off the season. I really do. But then sometimes people would throw in the fact that they also have Jackson Merrill and Fernando Tatis Jr. extended for so long, but those guys are a lot younger and have so much better potential, as we have seen since the beginning of the second half. And Tatis, when that contract was signed, I will say there were some rightful, some rightful fears being like, hey, are we sure we want to give this guy a deal? He's shown that he can be a little bit injury prone, and he's still so young. Are we sure this is what it's going to be like? Well, I will say that for those who are wondering, this is like a common practice now in today's current MLB, which is just that if you have a giant, really good wonder kid prospect and he shows up and makes a dent, a la a Michael Harris for the Braves, a la a Connor Griffin for the Pirates, or a Kevin McGonigal for the Rays, a Junior Caminero, or I'm sorry, Kevin McGonigal for the Detroit Tigers, a Junior Caminero for the Rays. It has, I think, become the new standard to extend those guys for, don't get me wrong, a lot of money, but not, and Junior Caminero has been extended. That's just been a rumor. It has become common practice to extend those guys because of a bunch of different reasons. Number one, because if they enter free agency and are as good, and guys, these people spend a lot of time researching and they see with numbers, with data, with performance, this is unlikely to get horrible. Right? That's the key. It won't get horrible. You might not be as good as you were, right? Michael Harris is a great example of that. Jackson Merrill up until the second half of this year is a good example. It might ebb and flow, but it's very unlikely that you are going to be just a bad player based on the sample size we have, based on data from your analytics, all of your stuff from the minors, what you believed him in as a prospect before. So they give these contracts because they say, when you become a free agent, we don't want it that a team can pay you $450 million when you're gone, right? The Dodgers could just swoop in. Instead, you give these deals where you can control the structure. You can have a low AAV when it first starts out. For those who don't remember, Tatis was only making $20 million for the first couple years of this deal. Actually, he was actually making just $4 billion in 2022. That's 6, that 11. Last year it was 20. This year it's 20. Next year it's 25. Then he starts making the crazy $36 million a year. You do that because it helps your team capitalize on the now when your contract is a little bit cheaper, when you have hopefully a lot more prospects, a lot more wiggle room, whatever it is. It just gives the team a little bit more leeway. And also the player benefits by being like, hey, who's to say I don't get hurt? Who's to say that I stay healthy, that I am the same player in a few years? So I take that money and I avoid arbitration. And players hate arbitration because it is an annoying system that for some reason, despite being, an independent arbiter, tends to side with the team a lot of times. I mean, Corbin Burns literally won 2 Cy Young awards, and he lost the arbitration case for $740K with the Brewers. Like that's the kind of situation we're in right now. So that's why this keeps happening. So that's why they gave him the deal. They said this stuff is legit, and if he ever becomes a free agent, he's not going to get paid what might cost a player like this when his contract is up, or when he was going to become a free agent, which would have been in basically maybe something like, I don't know, 2026, maybe this year, right? If Fernando Tatis Jr. was a free agent this year, he's making more, I think, on the open market than what he's currently making right now. He's probably getting a $400 million deal, something like that. Or he's getting a Dodgers-esque, will give you player options after each year, Kyle Tucker, 4 years, 240 type thing, where then you become a free agent again and can cash in again. That's the type of money, and I don't know if the Padres would be able to match that. So that's why they do that. So again, shout out to Tatis, though. He has made the Padres look smart. And for those who listened to some of the comments in the comment section, I never said they should trade him, but I was absolutely livid with him to start the season. Last thing I want to talk about, though, is a mailbag question that we got via the Gmail. Remember, LockedOnPadres@gmail. Reach out there. JS says, Jake Cronenworth, I feel like his poor season has been overlooked during this hot stretch. His Savant page makes him comparable to Jazz Chisholm, who is having a terrible season. How would you feel about Song getting starts at second base? With more playing time, I could see Song's offense improve. Thanks for listening. Go Padres. Thank you for the question, sir. This is great. Love this question. I think that Cronenworth, it is true, has not been a very good player overall. He has been getting a lot of singles, though, which we love to see. But it is true that if you actually look at his overall splits since coming back, he hasn't been doing that amazing in the WRC plus sort of metric because he doesn't draw enough of the slugging category. But I will say he had a 118 WRC plus in July, 92 in August. That's not horrible, right? Not horrible. But the lack of slug is what hurts him. Just a 348 slugging percentage, and he isn't hitting the ball hard. And as our guy mentioned, if you look at his baseball savant, it is really, really cold. It is ice cold. An expected slug, velo, barrel rate, hard hit rate, all that sort of stuff. It's actually worse than last year. And last year, it wasn't all that great either. And his overall metrics in terms of plate discipline are also worse. So yeah, I could see a world in which Sungmin Song gets more play. I don't think that's the case, though, this year. I think they like using Cronenworth as a veteran, as this guy who's been with the team for so long. He can play all over across the infield. But I think that that's the plan with Song going into next year. Because if next year, if Jake Cronenworth is performing like this, where he's not really doing much for you defensively, he's not killing you. He's not a player that's killing you. But he's not doing much for you defensively. He's not walking, which was his saving grace last year, right? He's not seeing quite as many pitches as he used to. Then I think you have to start trotting out Sungmin Song. The only difference is his bat to ball skills, I think, are okay, but he doesn't make the best quality of contact either, Song. But he does draw a lot of walks, and I do think he might be a better defensive player than Cronenworth. So I think that this is a conversation well worth having. But I think Preller made a very savvy move here because 4 years, $11 million is genuinely nothing. And it reminds me of what they did with Ha-Seong Kim, where he wasn't making all that much money. He was not great his first year, but showed a lot of promise, especially on the defensive side of things. So I think Cronenworth, I would like to see Sungmin Song get a lot more opportunities because, again, Cronenworth, he's slugging 302 on the year. And he has looked better since coming back from the IL, but a lot of them are blue pits. And I don't think this is an Arise type batter where the numbers are lying, right? Luis Arise also doesn't hit the ball very hard, but he's one of those exceptions to the rule because he knows how to place the ball. He can hit the ball wherever it is thrown and put it in play. That's another thing. Cronenworth will foul the ball off sometimes, not necessarily put it in play. Arise will genuinely put any pitch that you throw into the field. It would always be for a hit, but he will put that ball into play. So with Cronenworth, I'm absolutely in favor of giving Sungmin Song some more chances. I just wonder if this is the classic. We like him as the vet. He's been with the team more. He's had some huge hits for this team. So maybe you can't look at stats there. And he's the guy that come playoff time, they would rather trust in those big at-bat moments than a Sungmin Song, who is just in his rookie year and maybe isn't quite ready yet. But going into next season, I'm full aboard. And frankly, I wouldn't mind if starting now they started giving him more playing time. Because again, with Sungmin Song, while he isn't making good contact, let's be very clear, that is the big problem with him. He has not shown much at the plate this year. Is it that much worse than Cronenworth? Not that much, because he is drawing a lot of walks. He's not striking out. He's putting bat to ball. And I think he has a lot better defensive skills. He literally is worth 0.5 wins above replacement compared to Cronenworth, who's worth 0.1 right now. Like, he's actually been better in less overall playing time. So I'm curious, but I think that that's more of a thing for next year going forward, that they're going to hope that he's ready, he's more developed, give him another offseason working with Padres hitting coaches and the pitching staff and the major league staff and all that stuff. He's got a good eye at the plate. He's just got to figure out how to do damage with it, right? And then if he does, then he's not just this defensive replacement player that I think he's been for much of this year. And if that's the case, you basically just get cheap Jake Cronenworth, right? And remember, velocity isn't his problem. It's off-speed stuff. So, in my opinion, that's a good sign. That tells me he's just got to get used to Major League pitching. And if he does, I think Song can be the new Jake Cronenworth, the new Ha-Seong Kim. I know it's a little bit lazy to compare him to Kim for obvious reasons, but I do think he could be a decent player. I wouldn't mind him getting more playing time, but I also don't heavily disagree with the Padres being like, let's just keep our guy in for the rest of this year since there's not a ton of time left to figure this out. But again, we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see how it all shakes out, guys. And we'll have to see how the last game of this series shakes out, especially. Tomorrow's episode, we're going to do something. I don't know just yet. But Friday's episode, we are talking with Aram Layton of JustBaseball.com to talk about the Padres farm system, Ethan Salas potentially getting called up, what he feels about the trade deadline moves they made, giving up Miguel Mendez, giving up on Cash Mayfield and others. It'll be a lot of fun, guys. It'll be a lot of fun. A lot of fun always with my guy, Aram. But until that next time, stay safe and, of course, stay faithful. My Fire Faithful homies, take